Welcome to this episode of Yoga Rebels. I'm Burgundy.
I'm Lauren.
And today we're going to talk about the question of, can I do yoga every day? And also, let's change that up a bit. Well, no. I was going to say, should I do yoga every day? But I think our answer of can I do yoga every day is going to answer, should I do yoga?
Yeah, I think can is better than should.
Yeah, can is better than should, yeah. And the answer is yes, you can do yoga every day with the caveat, and this is what we're going to discuss, is depends on what kind you're doing. Mm-hmm. So that's what we're going to talk about.
Right. Like, what are your goals for the day? What are you already doing? What kind of energy are you expending? When we say yoga every day, because there's a hashtag that's hashtag yoga every damn day.
Yes.
That would be really easy to misunderstand if you are thinking in very literal black and white terms. Because when people hear doing yoga, or if they ask me if I do yoga every day, I think in their house they're thinking going to a place, going to a class, doing like a 90-minute, maybe 60-minute practice, and that is the only way you do yoga. So I think that things like that hashtag have really made it very difficult to understand that you can do yoga every day, but we don't necessarily mean that you're doing like crazy arm balances and 5 billion sun salutations every day. I mean, there are people out there that do that, but they,
that's their practice.
Yeah, we've talked about stuff like that. We don't need to get into it.
So I mean, for example, number one, our whole thing here is trying to define what the hell yoga is anyways, but there are so many different styles of yoga, and within yoga itself, you've got pranayama, you've got breath work, you've got meditation, you've got asana or pose, and on top of that then, you've got the yamas and the niyamas. So maybe my practice today is ahimsa, and I'm going to practice nonviolence. My practice for the day is being mindful of whether or not I'm saying something negative about myself or thinking negative thoughts about myself. That could be my practice today.
Right. And the other thing is that whatever the thing is, it doesn't need to be hours of it either. We were talking a little bit about just if somebody wants to start a home practice for physical for physical yoga, to just set the mat out. Just have it somewhere so that it's out, and maybe just saying, I'm going to just do one thing. So maybe you said one sun salutation. Maybe it's not even that. Maybe you get on your mat and you say to yourself, I'm going to do a couple breaths in child's pose. So maybe that's where it stops, but a lot of times that's not where it stops. So you get on the mat, you start moving, you start breathing, and it's probably pretty likely that you might start doing other things. But if you don't, that's okay. I think the act of just doing that, whatever that thing is what gets you in maybe a habit, if that's what you're looking for, or gets you working towards being more mindful in other areas of life. It doesn't have to be. I think we've made everything so black and white. We've really made everything that we do in our culture an either or thing. So it's either you do a 90-minute intense yoga practice or you lay around eating donuts. There's like no in between. So it's like you either do it or there's no other alternative.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, and so, I mean, honestly, there are days when, so my asana practice, so my movement practice is frequently, I put down the mat, I sit there for a second, and I'm like, God, how do I feel? What do I want? What does my body want right now? I have honestly had days where either all I do is child's pose, because I'm like, this is all I can handle. Maybe I've got a migraine, maybe I'm queasy. And there are days when I sit there and I'm like right now I have a really bad headache because flavored coffee gives me headaches. Found that out. And so honestly, right now, my stomach and my head could not handle a movement practice. I couldn't even handle child's pose right now because having my head low would be gross. And so my practice right now, this is probably the only pose that I could probably handle right now. and then that's my practice to myself, is saying, this is all you should do today.
Right. And I think that's a really, really, really big and important part of yoga, is working with where you're at right now. So sometimes people will also say or ask things like, I'm not just, can I practice yoga, but can I practice yoga when I'm sick? Sure, absolutely. But your idea of what yoga practice is and what you could do when you're sick are going to be different. So if I have a cold or a sinus infection, I'm not going to be in down dog.
Nope.
I'm not going to be in child's pose. Oh my gosh. When I first started doing yoga, I had this idea in my head. I had a very Western mindset about yoga, in that I believed that it was really possible that it could like cure me like medicine could.
Yeah.
And you'll see that all the time. You'll see yoga sequences for fill in the blank, yoga sequences for stomachache, headache, cold, things like that. And there might be something to some of those. But if your yoga sequence for a cold includes a headstand and down dog and child's pose, like, you're probably not going to do it. You just, do you really want to put your head forward and all of that congestion?
Oh my God.
No, but for me, what that might mean is that I start doing some things to just like open up the chest and the shoulders, because maybe I've been coughing and sneezing, so everything's tight. It might just be sitting up really tall and breathing in and out through my mouth.
It could simply be a pranayama, a breathing practice.
Right.
That could be your yoga.
Right. So I really do think you can do yoga every day. I think you could do yoga anywhere.
Yes, on a bus.
Depending on how out of your gourd you want to look, you can do as much or as little as you want. I'm one of those people that I've been doing and teaching yoga long enough that I don't care so much. Like in my last job in an office setting, and any of my coworkers can attest to this, I could be in the middle of a sentence and all of a sudden I'm still talking, I'm in a meeting, and then all of a sudden I'm just hanging out with my arms in eagle pose. I don't care.
Because that's what your body needed right then.
Yeah, because my shoulders are really tight because we're talking about something intense, and so it's kind of like a comfort level thing too, personal comfort level, because my comfort level around certain people is like that. It's eagle pose while we're sitting and talking, or if we're standing, I might pull one foot back in the dancer because my quads are tight. I don't care.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be an all the time thing. If I'm sitting like, I don't know, I used to take the bus to classes finishing up grad school. I would take the bus because the tube was quick and easy. I would do my pranayama on the bus. Nobody knew I was doing yoga, but I'd be doing a breathing exercise because
So it was a quiet breathing exercise though? Because I could imagine you doing like some bellows like in the bus.
I should have, because then I would have had so much space to myself. Why didn't I do that?
I mean,
or like alternate nostril breathing, like.
Yeah, that's weird. I probably wonder if you're doing it on the bus.
I wasn't being weird enough.
Yeah.
I regret everything.
Shit.
Yeah, I was just doing stupid, like, counting my breath.
That's lame.
But I could still do yoga on the bus. So I would be, I don't know, so like what's fun? Like square breathing.
Oh yeah, that's easy enough.
It's easy. That's one that I always recommend to people if they are very anxious, maybe if they're having a panic attack. It's an inhale for 4, you hold for 4, exhale for 4, you hold for 4. So 4, make a spare. So that's something really easy that you can do, and you can practice that in line at the grocery store while you're driving.
Yeah,
and you can really do yoga anywhere.
Yeah. What's funny, so I'm gonna sort of diverge for a second. So we binge watched The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel recently.
Oh, I need to watch that.
Hadn't seen it. Finally, we got through it in like 2 days. I'm not ashamed. It was actually very good.
It's been very cold.
It has been. So, so what I noticed, because now I'm hyper aware of my own body, my responses. So the main characters in this show, so it's set in the late 50s. So all the things that come along with that, and like misogyny and whatnot, the way that women are treated, little lady, and also she's in a New York Jewish family.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, the fast-paced talking and the whole, like, the guilt and all of that of the Jewish family, like, I'm watching this and my shoulders are pulling up in my ears. I'm like, oh my God, I love the show. But, like, the stress that it was causing me in my shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
So, we had watched several episodes on a Sunday, and I came in to teach a restorative class.
Yeah.
I needed that restorative class because of Mrs. Maisel. So I felt like all this tension leave, and I was like laying over blocks and all this stuff.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just simple, like laying over some bolsters or whatever. But that's all I needed.
Wow, we
But it was that
just come up with a concept like yoga for binge TV watching,
Yes.
because we were watching. Okay, so we're rewatching The Punisher, which
Oh.
I'm like super into Marvel stuff, and The Punisher was one of those where I didn't think I was gonna like it because it seems super duper macho and it seems super violent, and it is both, but it's also got a good story. So we were rewatching it, and I'm like, my whole body's tensing up because the main character is so intense, and he's going through all of this like emotional turmoil, and I'm like, oh my God. So afterwards, I'm like, oh, I gotta stretch out. That was nice. I gotta stretch out my upper traps, and oh my God, my shoulders. So maybe that's a thing. Maybe, binge watching intense TV shows.
It's true.
You can go take a restorative class afterwards.
But you know what? I feel like most Star Wars things actually like make me just feel so good that I don't need yoga after Star. Like Star Wars is kind of a form of yoga for me.
I got a little tense. We could do a whole episode. I got a little tense during Last Jedi because there were parts where I was like, why is this happening?
That's true. I would say that, yeah.
What is all this casino scene?
Like I feel like if they could have taken out all of Canto Bite, then that would have made the movie better.
Right.
And take out the relationship with Rose and Finn.
Yeah, it stressed out my
It
upper
wasn't-
traps, and then my psoas was contracting. I went into fight or flight because I wanted to fight them for
Yes, like it was
making it bad.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that Ryan Johnson wanted to try to put in, you know, an Asian, African American, that kind of relationship, but it was forced. And like even the kiss, like this was like
I always forget there was a kiss.
Yes,
Like,
and on Crate.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saved you, dummy. Like
Yeah. So I needed. All right. So Last Jedi.
yoga for Star Wars rage.
Yeah.
For nerd rage.
Yeah. Yeah. But so keeping in mind that they're all different, that yoga is a lot of different things, I think is extremely important.
Right.
Just in general. So, for example, you know, don't forget, and this is hard. This is hard to sometimes remember, but meditation is one aspect of yoga.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think when, just to your point, when you're saying like, you know, I practice yoga, well, that doesn't just mean that you practice asana, that you just practice pose. Which, what's interesting, so, what was I reading? So I've been reading this book, Altered Traits, talking about the science behind how meditation actually does have a positive impact and the things that it actually doesn't do. But traditionally what you hear when you listen to Tibetans talk, when you listen to the Dalai Lama, when you listen to people talking about meditators, they call these sort of expert meditators, they call them yogis.
I have heard that too. Yeah, Pema Chodron always refers to meditation teachers of hers as yogis. And I noticed that as well. And they're not necessarily people that are doing the asana, the physical postures at all. She specifically means people who meditate and then teach others how to meditate.
Yeah, and I think, you know, so one of the things that I try to reinforce with my students, especially with people who are just starting yoga, I'm being very careful with the words that I'm using right now because I've got people who have been coming to my studio a few years and they still call themselves beginners. And they call themselves beginners because, because they feel like they can't do certain poses yet, because they're not strong enough yet, because they're not flexible enough yet.
Yeah.
And so this is my opinion and my belief, is that if you can put your legs behind your head, but when you are in that pose, you're thinking of your grocery list, you're a beginner.
Right.
If you are sitting in the most awkward pose, and these are your hips and these are your knees, and yet you're sitting here and you are completely focused on what you're doing and you're comfortable. So I don't care how high your knees are, as long as you feel comfortable.
No, I'm the same way.
Then that's advanced. If you're, it's your mindset. It's whether or not you are staying present. And that takes practice, because
that's the hardest part.
Your mind is going to wander. You know, if there's nothing that says that you have to honestly constantly stay present all the time, 100% through the practice.
I think it's impossible.
Yeah, no, it's hard. But that's why we call it a practice.
Exactly. And I think that's where a lot of people get tripped up and intimidated by meditation and yoga, is that they believe that you have to clear your mind. And the mind is not really capable of that.
No.
And I think part of the practice and the process of meditation is recognizing that.
Yeah.
And yoga, so back to the Yoga Sutras, like the first sutra is, yoga is the practice of stopping the cessation of the fluctuations of the mind. That doesn't mean that you're going to do that you're going to just completely stop those fluctuations or those random, the monkey mind that it gets called in yoga. But when you can recognize it and maybe you're labeling it or just noticing it without judgment, that's when you're really doing the work, is when you realize, oh, my mind's chattering away with what I'm going to have for dinner. I'm going to bring it back.
Yep.
Without getting mad at yourself.
Yes, yeah, that lack of judgment is crucial. Like, oh, I must be bad because I just went to dinner. You know, I thought about dinner, and that's not at all the case. I mean, that's your mind being human, and you're being gentle and kind and recognizing that it's just going to take time.
Right, and that's another thing that comes up a lot with counseling too, with self-talk and negative self-talk, is when somebody has a specific maybe thought process or way of thinking that's very negative about themselves. I or other counselors will kind of bring up the idea of, how would you treat your best friend, or how would you treat your dog, or what would you say to somebody that you really, really love that was experiencing this? So treating your mind in meditation and your body and yoga, your mind and your body, both of those things in that same way, looking at it. What would you say to your friend? If your friend was telling you they sucked at yoga because they can't do, a perfect dancer pose, you're probably not going to say, you do suck.
You're right, you suck.
Ooh, my God, you should probably never go again. No, you're not going to do that. So why the hell are you doing that to yourself?
Right.
Or if you, fall at a tree pose, I mean, are you going to give your friend a hard time and tell them, that they should just pack it up, just roll up your mat, you're done,
Right.
Get out? No. Right. So it's taking that same approach to yourself and your meditation practice, your breathing, your movements, and it's the hardest part of it. I always tell people, I think that most people can do the really tough pretzel poses before they can really master the mind part of it.
Yeah.
There are days where when I'm practicing, it's like my body might be able to do something that looks really cool, but my mind is a mess.
Truly.
But it's just because I've been doing it a long time.
Yes.
So the mind part is not necessarily the part that is going to come naturally. It's not going to come naturally for any of us.
No.
It's not how I don't think that's how we're wired. We're rewiring ourselves.
Yes.
We're using, I think we were talking about that before with Buddhism and meditation, is they're the original founders of neuroplasticity, that you can change your brain, that you can rewire things, and that's what we're doing. So it's hard. It's not going to be natural. It's not going to be easy.
Right. Yeah. So the answer is yes, you can practice yoga every day. It just depends on the type that you do.
Right. And if it is going to be every day, if that's something that people are wanting to do or trying to commit to doing for their kind of is that prescriptive for wellness, which is a really good reason to do yoga. I don't think making major changes with yoga is a great idea. So going back to counseling, another thing is, especially for people that have maybe experiencing addictions or maybe more severe mental illness, we always advise, and I think this goes for everybody, to make change in smaller steps, because you're going to be more likely to stick with it. Like with all the New Year's resolutions that everybody's probably, so it's January 25th.
So
they're probably all out the window if you made one. If you say to yourself, I'm going to do yoga every day, and then you do it in this way, you're going to be a hell of a lot more likely to do it than if you think, I need to go to an expensive bougie studio 6 times a week, 7 times a week. Which one do you think you're going to do? You're probably, if you leave your yoga mat out, just leave it if you can. If you have dogs and cats, you can't leave your yoga mat out. Cats love yoga mats so much.
That's true.
To just scratch. And dogs like them as beds.
Yeah.
So ignore everything I just said.
Unless you have a room. So I had a room until I got a studio. I had a room that was dedicated to my yoga stuff. Here's the challenge I ran into, was that I couldn't practice with the door shut because now everybody's scratching and yelling at me. Like, what are you doing in there? Are you okay?
And then we'll pause under the door if there's enough space.
Yeah,
and with dogs, they stick their nose under there and they sniff.
Right, yeah. So
you can't run with them.
No. So that's why I had to end up, well, I just opened a studio, but
I mean, let's all open our own yoga studios
to do.
because we've got dogs and cats at home. It's just not working.
Right. Or you just go to a studio.
Right.
But I mean, yeah. So you just slap down your mat if you can. If you can't,
close the door if you can. If you don't have. Yeah. Why do people do cat yoga? I don't get it. Like that's or dog yoga.
Goat yoga. No.
Don't.
I can't.
I feel like you would have to specially train the dogs and cats or whatever animals to be okay with it. Because my dogs, my God, like, do you want them to stick their tongues up your nose and your ears? If so, then try dog yoga.
Right.
If you want your cat to climb your back and down dog and try to sit on your butt, and definitely do cat yoga.
Yeah. Well, I had a cat, Katie. Katie's the little tuxedo cat that's on my webpage, on my website. I haven't taken it down because she died and we loved her and I don't want to do that. But she, when I was practicing still at home, she would attack my hands.
Oh, yeah. Do you get, like, if your hair is hanging down?
And the hair and I got claws in my scalp and all. It was, yeah. So yoga every day is probably challenging depending on
your results may vary.
Yes, right, exactly.
So it's a little trickier, but I think it's worth it. I think it's worth it to figure out the ways that work for you.
Yeah.
I mean, because if you don't figure out the ways that are going to work for you, you're not going to do it.
Yeah. So if you want to do that hashtag yoga every damn day thing, how about like maybe your pictures are of you just sort of like sitting here? Yeah, right. How about yoga every damn day? Don't show me a pretzel pose.
Right. Maybe I'm just standing there. I'm not even in mountain pose. I'm at the grocery store.
Or maybe like, this is it. I'm choosing almonds.
Yeah. Choosing almonds instead of chocolate covered almonds. No, I still want chocolate covered almonds.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not giving up sugar.
No. I mean, limiting it. I might limit sugar.
Right. I mean, isn't honey in Ayurveda like a really important thing?
I love honey.
I mean,
I really do. I've embraced it.
Yeah.
I mean, the Egyptians used it for like healing things.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going off. Wow, okay. All right. Well, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, please click like or subscribe. Thank you so much to our Patreon patrons for supporting us. Please give us comments, questions.
Yeah. Ask us stuff.
Yeah. If you take issue with something that we've said, please let us know.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear about it.
Let's fight it out.
That's right. And if you do have if you have a topic that you'd like us to discuss, if you find it interesting, our little random chats about things, give us a suggestion of what you'd like to hear about. If you would like to have us honestly answer something, please do let us know. Otherwise, we'll see you next time. Thanks.